Hey everyone, welcome back to Hammer Fist Sports. I'm Yasser, also known as the Chef, and I'm pumped to be back with another exciting episode. We've got some awesome content lined up for you guys today. And as always, I'm joined by my great friend, my co-host on our Friends podcast, the one with my Friends podcast on Apple iTunes, and we're available on Facebook. Like and subscribe. My best friend, my co-host, my homie, my nephew, Mr. Issam Jabber. What's going on, Issam?
What's up? Glad to be back. And
Wearing the Favre.
Brett, my homie. I had to represent. But yeah, I'm glad to be back. I hate your jersey, and let's get it.
Hey man, Champ Bailey. I didn't know you were going to put the Brett Favre on today. Had I known that, I would have whipped out like the John Elway or something like that. Because
97. Let's not talk about it. I cried.
Those are some of the best years in football.
Man,
Speaking of football, today we have an exciting episode. We're diving deep into the world of fantasy football, and we've got two hot topics to cover. First, Moby and I will be breaking down our top 5 fantasy running backs of 2024, and those are the guys that you absolutely need to have on your radar if you want to dominate your league. And then we're going to shift gears, and Moby and I are going to talk about our top 5 late round heroes, and those are the hidden gems that you guys are going to need to help you get to the next level. Moby, are you ready to get into this?
You're wearing Broncos, right? So let's ride.
Let's ride, Bronco Nation, baby.
How come y'all don't say that anymore?
Well, Russell Wilson's not there anymore, so
okay.
You know how it is. Top 5 running backs. Moby, I'm going to go ahead and give you the honorarium to get into this. Give me your top 5.
All right, and starting off at number 5 is Jahmyr Gibbs. Yes, that's right. Coming from Detroit Lions. Now, Yasser already talked about their offense when he was in love with, forgot his name.
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff, yeah. And their offense. So, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he's going to be a high recipient of that offense. I believe he's going to get a lot of touchdowns, and I'm expecting a big year from him. And I know, they got kind of running back by committee, but I think he's going to be the number 1. I think that offense is going to be putting up a lot of points. So he's going to be my number 5 for this year.
I ain't mad at you.
And my number 4 is James Cook. Now, I know what you're thinking. What?
I am.
Yeah, this is more of a they're a throwing offense, are they now? Really? Because towards the end of last year, hold on, are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah. According to last year, towards the end of the year, they started running the ball more. They started shifting away from throwing, which is why Stephon Diggs actually got mad and why he's not there anymore. But yeah, and James Cook became a big part of their offense. And I also think they're going to try to take a load off of Josh Allen. And they're going to be, so in the red zone, he'll be getting a lot more. So look for James Cook. Just remember that. And y'all can thank me later whenever he's going off later this season. And I'm expecting a big year from him as well.
I'm not mad at you about that one either.
Let's go to number 3. Breece Hall. Now, Breece Hall is a stud. I don't know what they were doing with this dude last year. Well, I mean, who was the offense coordinator? Your boy from, what's his name? The Broncos.
Oh, God, the Bronco guy. I
don't
remember
Aaron
his
Rodgers.
name anymore.
The only reason he gets a job because Aaron Rodgers likes him. Anyway, that offense coordinator just, I think he only had like 1 carry inside the 5-yard line last year. Something crazy like that. It's like something ridiculous. Anyway, he's a dog. He stays healthy. Aaron Rodgers stays healthy. This dude's going to be putting up great numbers. It's just a matter of time. My only concern is just health. Like, this dude is really good, and yeah, he's going to have a great year. My number 2 is going to be bang, bang. Bijan Robinson, as much as I hate to do this as a Saints fan and hoping for injury as opposed to not. But yeah, he's really good. I mean, they tried not to use him, and he was still putting up good points last year. He can run. He can catch. Now they have Kirk Cousins. They got Penix. I think and their head coach loves to run the ball. I don't know why they didn't want to use him last year, but I really think he's going to do really good this year, and I hope he does it as a Saints fan. But yeah, I'm expecting big things from him.
That's a hard place to be in. Do you think the addition of basically two quarterbacks with Kirk Cousins and Penix Jr. Or Penix Jr.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to go against
Oh,
Bijan, or do you think that helps him?
No, it helps him. They barely, they weren't even using him last year, really. And because I was going against them, and I was so scared because they would touch it and do so good, and then they wouldn't give him ball again. And they just they didn't really have a quarterback last year. Now they're going to be putting up more points. Like I'm a little nervous as a Saints fan. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and he really hasn't had his breakout season yet, right?
Yeah.
So he hasn't even showed what he's capable of, and this could be the year to do it too.
Yeah. And number one is, of course, Christian McCaffrey. I know what you're thinking. What? Like, that's just everybody's probably going to do that. Isn't he already hurt? Maybe he's going to get hurt. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Look, man, you number one. He's been number one.
Yeah.
Until you get knocked off, I got to give you your flowers. I'm going to give you your respect. Dude earned it. And frankly, I've had him past few years, and man, I love him. So it's just well, he's probably due for an injury season. He's already starting off injury. That's not good, but he's the man. You got to take it from him. I'm sorry. He's just fantasy. It's just 20 is a bad game for him, normally every year. So I'm sorry. I'm not going to predict his downfall till I see it. So until then, he's the champ.
Yeah, Moby, there's really nothing I can say about that. Any list that you go on online right now, or any person you really ask right now, CMC is the number one guy unless you're absolutely deranged.
Yeah.
And you know me, Moby, I'm known to be a crazy person. So
I know. I don't even think he's probably. I wouldn't be shocked if he's not in your top 5, to be honest.
That's funny. All right, Moby, let me give it to you. My top five fantasy running backs of 2024 that you got to have on my list. I got Derrick Henry on here. I mean, just ESPN has him ranked as a number 10 running back and the number 24 overall. I think that's a little bit on the lower side. Let's talk about what he did last year with the Tennessee Titans. Very quiet season, right? You don't really think of Derrick Henry when you think of last season. He was a number 5 fantasy running back last season with 219 fantasy points. He attempted 280 rushes. That is the most in the NFL. He rushed for 1,167 yards. That's 4.2 yards per rush, 12 rushing touchdowns, had 28 receptions. That's the second most in his career, which last year was his best at 33. So anybody thinking that Derrick Henry is on the downside, this dude is still catching the ball better than he has, in his career. He had 214 reception yards, 7.6 yards per reception, didn't score a rushing touchdown. This dude has an 88% positive snap influence. The guy is a monster when you put this ball in his hands. Look what both Edwards and Dobbins did last year with the Ravens. They were both eating and getting points.
Yeah.
Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins both now with the Los Angeles Chargers. There's really no real threat for Derrick Henry at running back except for Lamar Jackson. But I feel like we might have seen we might see the least amount of running from Lamar this season. I think this is the season where Lamar just needs to sit back and give the ball to Derrick Henry or make the right throws. You got go ahead.
I had Lamar last year, and they don't run with him in the red zone as much as you would think. They
because you got Gus Edwards.
Yeah. So go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, this is good. No, I like that. That's good. And they didn't have to. You're right. He didn't get a lot of those red zone touchdowns like we're normally used to because you had Gus Edwards eating, J.K. Dobbins eating. They also added Keaton Mitchell, who's a second-year running back, and he's more of a change of pace back and can get a little bit more snaps, but I see him more in the midfield. But I don't think anybody back there is going to be taking any snaps away. I think Derrick Henry might dominate the snaps, rushing snaps again this season. That's why I got him as my number 5.
I like it.
You like it. I like
it.
If you like it, I like it.
I like
For my number 4, I got Breece Hall. You got him a little bit higher than me. I got him sitting at number 4. If you look at ESPN, they have him as the number 2 running back and the number 2 overall pick in the draft. And there's a reason why. He was a number 7 fantasy running back last season with 215 fantasy points. He in PPR scoring, he was number 2 in PPR. He had 223 rushing attempts, almost had 1,000 yards of 994 yards. His longest rush last season was for an 83-yard touchdown. You remember that towards the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
He had four rushes of 40-plus yards, and that is the second behind Achane with 5 rushes of 40-plus yards. The dude is an absolute stud, Moby. He averages 4.5 yards per rush. He had 5 rushing touchdowns, 76 receptions. That is number 1 in the NFL. Again, a PPR monster. 591 reception yards, averaging almost 8 yards per reception, and 4 rushing touchdowns. He has an 85% positive snap influence. Moby, if you take the situation that the Jets were in last year with Aaron Rodgers out, and you had, I can't even think of his name, who they had back there at quarterback, that one kid who's not there anymore. Horrible quarterback. Couldn't get the offense going. Offensive coordinator wasn't helping. And this dude still almost rushed for 1,000 yards and was a PPR machine. The Jets have the youngest running backs collection in the entire league, especially after drafting Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin. Allen's been looking really good in training camp and in preseason, and he's a great insurance option if that's part of your game. So look for also Braylon Allen as a little tidbit. The Jets have completely overhauled their starting unit at the offensive line during the offseason, which is something that was obviously a major priority for the organization. They added tackle Morgan Moses. That was a trade from Baltimore. And they added guard John Simpson, who agreed to a 2-year deal. So give me Breece Hall all day long. I don't have him as high as ESPN does at number 2. Only because with Aaron Rodgers coming back, we might see Garrett Wilson get the ball a little bit more spreading the ball around, and then using Breece Hall as a play action option situation.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense.
That was
with you on that.
My number 3 guy, Moby, I got Jahmyr Gibbs. You got him at 5. I got him at 3. I like him just a little bit more. ESPN has him as the number 6 running back and number 14 overall. He was the number 10 fantasy running back last year at 190 points, 182 rushes for 945 yards. He had 10 rushes of 20-plus yards, which is the second most in the NFL. He averages 5.2 yards per rush, which is the third most in NFL last season, and he had 10 rushing touchdowns. That's not all. The guy is catching 52 receptions, PPR monster right there, 316 yards, 6.1 yards per catch, and a receiving touchdown. The guy had a slow start to the season, but man, after week 7, he never looked back. Looks absolutely phenomenal. Even with David Montgomery starting, David Montgomery loves to get injured. Not that he really goes out, as he it's not like he's like, dang, I hope I get injured today, but his body just naturally attracted to injuries. I can see a lot more Jahmyr Gibbs this season.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm with you on that. I like him.
My number 2 guy who's not on your list, which kind of surprises me. Okay. Guys, go get Kareem Williams.
I have him last year.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you, right? ESPN has him ranked as a number 7 running back in the fantasy this season, and number 15 overall. Last season, he was the number 7, so they have him right where he finished last season with 255 fantasy points. He averages 21.3 fantasy points per game, and that is standard scoring. And he was a number 2 in the NFL last season, right behind Christian McCaffrey in average fantasy points per game. 228 rushes for 1,100 yards. That is the third best in the NFL, and averages 95 yards per game last season, which was number 1 in the NFL. He averages 5 yards per carry, 12 rushing touchdowns, 32 receptions for 206 yards, 6.5 yards per reception, and 3 touchdowns. The guy managed to put up monster numbers despite missing 5 games. Imagine this guy is completely healthy. He might have finished right there with Christian McCaffrey.
And
Go get Kyron Williams. He should be your if you have the number 2 pick in the draft and the number 1 guy gets Christian McCaffrey, Kyron Williams needs to be your number 2 pick. Don't say I didn't tell you.
your last statement before that is why he's not in my top 5, because he's
Because
a
of the
smaller
injuries.
guy.
Yeah.
He gets injured and he's not. It's just like in the way he plays and stuff. And I had him, and he helped me win a lot of games. Trust me, he's really good. But to take him 2, he's just and for whatever reason, crap, I'm blanking on the coach's name for the Rams.
Sean McVay.
Yeah. He's just like really weird about his running backs and stuff too. So he'll yank.
Look what happened to Todd Gurley.
Yeah. So like, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I love him. It's just that injury and the way they use him and stuff like that. I'm a little nervous about that. But yeah, I love him. Trust me.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm just going to say, hold on to that thought. We'll get back to it.
All right.
All right. And my number 1 fantasy running back pick, it's Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
You got to go get Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
You can't pass up on him. And here's why. Last season, he was a number 1 fantasy running back with 324 fantasy points. That is 24.5 points per game. That is standard scoring. That is the highest in NFL. Moby, did you know that Christian McCaffrey played 16 games last season and averaged double-digit fantasy points every single game he played?
That doesn't shock me. I didn't know it, but that doesn't shock me.
Crazy.
It's
I've
insane,
never seen that before.
It's insane.
272 rushing. What's that?
I literally, I had him, and if he had 20 points, I was like, okay.
Oh, you were disappointed.
Yeah, I was like, that's a decent game.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Why doesn't he have 35 again?
Yeah, this dude, he's the man. That's your boy.
I
And
know.
what do you call it? Yasser, I don't know if y'all know that, but Yasser used to love his dad, Ed McCaffrey.
Ed McCaffrey. Used to call him Easy Ed McCaffrey.
Yeah,
Love
wide
him.
receiver for the Broncos. That was Yasser's guy. So
I used to call him. Never mind. Anyways, Christian McCaffrey, 272 attempts. That is the number 2 in the NFL, right behind Derrick Henry with 280 rushing attempts. He had 1,459 yards last season. I was a number 1 in NFL. He also averaged 5.4 yards per carry, number 1 in NFL, 14 rushing touchdowns. He also had 67 receptions. That's a number 2 in the NFL, right behind Breece Hall. Breece Hall had 76 receptions, just to give you an idea how big of that reception gap was. He had 564 receiving yards for 8.4 yards per reception and 7 receiving touchdowns by a running back that is number 1 in NFL. He also had an 89% positive snap influence, also number 1 in the NFL. And he had 91.2 rushing yards per game, number 2 in the NFL, right behind Kyron Williams with 95. Christian McCaffrey, guys, he is on everybody's top list. Everybody else beyond Christian McCaffrey, it's just going to be you and your research.
yeah.
And there it is, our top 5 fantasy running backs of 2024. Let's get into our late round heroes. Moby, who do you have in your top 5 late round heroes?
Late round heroes.
And look, I spelled heroes right this time.
Let's go. Let's ride. All right. At number 5, we have Jaylen Warren. Now, this is a late round hero.
That is.
I do not like the starting running back for the Steelers,
Najee Harris.
Najee Harris, not just because he went to Alabama, but that is, that is part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Jaylen Warren. He was coming on strong towards the end of the season. They actually were like splitting carries. And I think he's going to take the starting job this year. It's just somebody, if you want to take in the late rounds where it doesn't hurt you as bad, just throw him on there, keep him on the bench, and see what happens around the middle of the season, around bye week, stuff like that. I think it's going to be a great pickup. But yeah, I really like him. I think they should be starting him over Najee Harris, and I think they will.
Moby, I agree with you. I think Najee Harris might get demoted, especially if Jaylen Warren comes out and keeps playing the way he did. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. And then on my next one, Austin Eckler. I know what you're thinking. Man, he got traded. He's out with Washington. The the Chargers, they always dink and dunk. That's why he gets a lot of points. He's getting older. I'm with you on all that. But the man, he just knows how to score touchdowns. He knows how to get open, get these catches, get some of these yards. He's going to have Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels knows how to get the ball out to him. Jaden Daniels' running threat is going to open things up for Austin Eckler.
Spot on.
Also, so that's going to give him some more running room. So I'm just saying, before y'all throw dirt on my boy, you may be a season or two too soon. Just because he switched the team doesn't mean, yeah, he's not going to be putting up 20s and 30s every week, but I think he's going to be 15 to 20, and then he may pop off for 30 every once in a while. But like, yeah, I still think he's going to be worthy. I think he's going to drop. So don't throw dirt on him quite yet. That's just my advice. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Moby, this is when I saw your list, I was like, oh man, that's a really good one. He's somebody you're not really thinking about, and like as far as ESPN has him ranked, like you can easily snag him up and he would make a fantastic RB2 as long as he can stay healthy, and especially alongside a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. I think they're going to rely on him a lot for him to help out Jaden Daniels.
His veteran leadership, totally. Yep, I like it.
And then my number 3 is Javonte Williams. I know he's had some injuries. I know they got, a few running backs, but this dude, he's really good. Sean Payton knows how to use his running backs. He knows what he got with them. He's going to get the most out of them. I think, and also after like an ACL injury, it normally takes another year for those running backs, and then they come out strong. So I'm expecting a big year from him. I really like him. Yasser probably knows more. I don't keep up with the Broncos as much, but yeah, I just know that whenever I was going up against him, some weeks he used to scare the crap out of me. So normally I always keep those players in mind. But yeah, I think this can be a breakout. This may be his best season. We'll see. I could be dead wrong. This is kind of a risky one. I understand that, but that's where I'm going with Javonte Williams.
I don't like it, and I like it. Like I don't like it because I had him last season and he was just so frustrating. I like it because it's Sean Payton's real first year with his guys, and if Bo Nix can come out and sling the ball and play well, then I think it opens up Javonte Williams. So yeah, I think
we'll see. That's what I'm saying. It's risky, but we'll see.
Yeah. Cool.
And Then our number 2 is James Conner. James Conner he's like vanilla. Like you don't think about him, but then like when you look at him, he's like, oh, this dude's actually really decent. Like he's forgotten about this dude. If you don't know who to pick, take him. It's the opposite of Javonte Williams. It's not as risky. You pretty much know what you're going to get. Yeah, he may get hurt. But he's going to have decent games. He's going to have a couple of really good games. It's just somebody you can plug in and know he's going to get 12 to like 16 points normally. And then, there will be some letdown games, but he's just consistency and just vanilla. So after I went with the risky pick, I thought maybe I should go with more of a sure thing, or at least not a sure thing, but something that I know what I'm getting pretty much. So that's why I went with James Conner.
I ain't mad at that, and you can definitely see his numbers whenever what's his name came back
Kyler
at quarterback.
Murray.
When Murray came back in those final several games, and James Conner was just blowing it up. So I'm not mad at that at all.
Yeah. All right, and then my number 1, I believe, is on Yasser's top. Oh no, I took him out. Dang. Okay, yeah. Ramondre Stevenson. I thought I had Derrick Henry in here. That is crazy. I don't have him. Okay.
I thought so. I thought that was crazy too.
That is crazy. Yeah. I thought I did have him. All right. I guess I didn't. Well, I'm wrong. I already disagree with my list. Anyway, Ramondre Stevenson, though, I do think he's number 1, though. He's a dog. And I don't know what it is. It's just because of the Patriots and maybe because Tom Brady's not there. I don't know. People just don't talk about him as much anymore. But this dude is really good, especially when they give him the rock. I think they will this year a lot more. I think it's going to be more run-oriented offense, trying to get things going with their rookie quarterback, stuff like that. So I think he's going to have a monster year. I'm looking for a lot of touchdowns from him inside the goal line. And so Ramondre Stevenson, I still think you can get him late, and or late round hero, but he'll definitely be worth it. And I'm rolling with him. And that is my top 5. sorta, with Derrick Henry somewhere in there.
I like it. Even with Ramondre on there, it's even ESPN has him so far down that list too. So late rounds,
That's what I'm
round
saying.
9, 10, 11, he pops up. Yeah, he's worth a snag.
Yeah,
Well, you know me, Moby. I love the young guys.
I know you do.
I love the studs. And my first stud, Florida State running back, Trey Benson. He's the number 45 running back on ESPN's list, 124 overall, third round pick by the Arizona Cardinals. This guy has size and elusiveness. He reminds me of a young Derrick Henry. Last season as a Seminole, he played 13 games, rushed for 906 yards off of 156 carries, averaged 5.8 yards on the ground on 14 touchdowns. He also added 20 receptions for 227 yards, average 11.4 yards per reception, and 1 touchdown. He's currently listed as a number 3 running back for the Cardinals behind James Conner and Amari DeMarcado. But James Conner ended up missing 4 games last season, and Amari really didn't show much promise after that. I have a feeling that Trey Benson will end up playing at least 4 to 6 games this season. And if you are in the late rounds, round 12, 13, and you just have no one to pick up and you kind of are good in in the other positions, go get Trey Benson to sit on.
Yeah.
And even if you're in those keeper leagues, go get Trey Benson. John Connor will eventually get injured, and Amari DeMarcado didn't really show anything. So I got Trey Benson up there on my number 5.
I ain't mad at it. Ain't mad.
He's big, dude. I saw him in preseason. I was like, man, this dude looks like Derrick Henry, man.
Dang.
Running like a bulldozer.
Shoot.
My number 4, we had a conversation about Kareem Williams. I said, hold that thought. Blake Corum, ESPN has him as the number 46 running back, 142 overall. He was the 83rd pick out of the University of Michigan. At U of M, he played 15 games, rushed for 1,245 yards off of 258 attempts, averaging 4.8 yards per rush. He rushed for 27 touchdowns, 16 receptions, 117 yards, and a touchdown. He's a great runner who's sitting right behind Kareem Williams, who missed 5 games last season. Corum is a fantastic insurance option with that high-powered offense. He is literally the number 2 guy. 1 injury from Kareem, and we just spoke about it, Moby. Like, the dude missed 5 games. It's going to happen. Unless it does not, go get Blake Corum and sit on him in those late rounds.
Okay.
I
got to look into
number 3. My number 3 is your number 5. I like me some Jaylen Warren. I agree with everything that you said about him, especially with Najee Harris probably going to get demoted. ESPN has him ranked as a number 31st running back and number 90 overall. He was a number 7 fantasy running back last season with 255 fantasy points. And this is standard scoring. He attempted 149 rushes and rushed for 784 yards. Moby, that is 5.3 yards per rush. He also rushed for 4 touchdowns. He's not a big rushing machine, but like in terms of touchdowns, but when it comes to those yards and attempts and those fantasy points, man, he knows how to get them. He also had 61 receptions, which helps your fantasy league, which is number 3 in the NFL. And he had 370 receiving yards, which was number 6 in the NFL for running backs. That's 6.1 yards per catch. Didn't catch any touchdowns, unfortunately. Again, he's sitting behind Najee Harris, and who's been looking pretty mediocre as of late. Go pick up Jaylen Warren, especially with ESPN ranking him way down there as the 31st running back.
Yes, sir.
And my number 2, James Conner. I've got him right there where you've got him. ESPN has him as the number 20 running back and 64 overall. Did you know that in last season he rushed for 208? He had 208 rushes for 1,000 yards. That was the most attempts in his entire career. He had 11 rushes for 20 plus yards, which is a career high for him. And he led the league in that metric. He led the league in most 20 plus yard rushes. He was also number 3 in rushing yards per game at 80. He's averaging 5 yards per rush, 7 rushing touchdowns, 27 receptions for 165 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. Do not pass up James Conner in the draft. Don't do it. If you're that guy, just be prepared to lose.
Yep. Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Moby, my number one guy is somebody who's not on your list. I don't think you're thinking about him, but man, did he make a splash last season, and he's only getting better. I got Raheem Mostert as my, you've got to go get this guy grab.
Yeah, that was stupid of me.
ESPN has him ranked number 27 running back this season, 80th overall. That is a crime that they have him ranked so low. He was a number 2 fantasy running back in standard scoring with 243 fantasy points. In PPR scoring, he was also in half PPR, he was also the number 2 running back. And in PPR scoring, he's a number 5 running back. This dude is the top 5 running back, no matter how you spin it. He averaged the 3rd most fantasy points per game at 16 in that standard scoring, 209 rushing attempts at 1,000 yards, 4.8 yards per rush. That's a number 6 in the NFL. He also had 18 rushing touchdowns. Moby, that is the most in the NFL in 2023. And that's followed by 2 quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. The next running back had 14 rushes, and that was Christian McCaffrey. So there's a 4 rushing touchdown gap between both running backs.
That's crazy.
Mostert was killing it last season. 25 receptions, 175 yards, 7 yards per reception, 3 receiving touchdowns. The dude has double-digit fantasy scoring in 11 of his 15 games that he played. Devon Achane is a menace of himself, and he's absolute worth picking up as an insurance piece. But he will not outplay Raheem Mostert if Raheem Mostert comes out and play the way he did this season. It was probably Raheem Mostert's best season that he's had his entire career. The Dolphins also signed center Aaron Brewer, who finished last season as the 13th best pass blocker in terms of like win rate, pass blocking win rate. Do not pass up Raheem Mostert. And guys, there it is. Our top 5 late round heroes of 2024. And we just gave it to them. Moby, what do you think about our list?
Man, I really like that Raheem Mostert. I totally forgot about him. You're right, because you always think of him and Achane kind of like stealing each other, but even when they both go off, and then if you take one, you probably need to take the other one just in case one of them.
Take the other one just in case. Yep, Tyreek Hill, dude. The Dolphins they put up fantasy numbers everywhere. Tua, Oliver, Waddle, list goes on.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. But yeah, I like it.
I like it too, man.
I'm here for it.
Well, Moby, I really appreciate you joining me for this one. I hope to see you next time when we do the top 5 fantasy wide receivers of the 2024 season. And we've got some drafts coming up here in about 2 weeks, so we'll try to deliver this episode probably in the next week or so to get you guys ready for your fantasy season.
Yes, sir.
All right. I appreciate you joining me, Moby. And guys, until then, thank you for joining Hammer Fist Sports.